Number 6, yes, apparently. Number 7, yes. 8 and 9, not a project. Okay, so it's pretty clear already, right? So I'm gonna have to say this. Not sure what I'm trying to say here. I really like group number 4 in the way that they posted the answer first, and also the way that they have really brief but condensed explanation for their choices. However, they had only one tiny little mistake with with the household project. I'm going to give group number 4 a bonus, right? Because, it's the first week that we have our official lesson. So everyone in group number 4, you're going to have a bonus. I'm not adding the bonus to my list. So next week, when we meet in person, please remind me, okay, of this bonus. And the other groups, don't worry, we still have plenty more activities for you. Okay. Group number 3 also have a nice way to present. Group number 5 is clear. Group number 5, maybe next time in the next activity, you won't have to write a full sentence because it's gonna take you a lot of time. Instead, you should you should save time for discussion instead of having to write the full sentence like this. Okay, I think we can move on. Now, we move on to the characteristics of a project. So everyone already mentioned it in the chat box. Now I will just repeat what you have said in the chat box. So the first word that we use is the objective. But when you forget, you can use other words like goal or outcome or output. They are basically the same. And what does it mean established here? Established means many things. First, it needs to be specific. Okay? It won't be a project if it doesn't have a specific goals. And then it needs to be clear and elaborative to everyone who is going to be involved in the project. So everyone, you have to make sure as a project manager or part of the project management team, you need to make sure that everyone understands the objective. Okay. And then the second characteristic, we have this word, lifespan. Okay, so we need the beginning and the end of the project. When will you start working on the project? And when will you have to deliver your service to the client? It is the end, right? So we need a specific, or here they use the word defined. Defined beginning and end. Defined timeline. What you do for your timeline is none of our concern. As a client, we only care about the beginning and the end. How you divide your timeline into different phases or milestones just is your business. Okay? Number 3, remember this. It's going to involve a lot of departments and professionals. Even a small project like a translation project, like a Nguyễn Nhật Ánh book series, right? So we have translators, we have editors, we have PR, maybe we have some publishers, some publishing factory, and printing, making copies, bookstores, a lot of things for a project to come to the end. So remember this. There will be the involvement of departments and professionals. Characteristic number 4 is unique, right? So we've talked about this. It is doing something that has never been done before. And finally, there will be some requirements like human resources, like the time, like the length of the timeline, like how many months, how many weeks your team will need to complete the project, the cost, and also the performance. Like you need an average quality of a product, just so, or you need the highest quality of a product. And what about the performance of the team member? Do you need them to be equally excellent? Or some of them can work in a lower position like drafting, and some of them should be able to work in a more complicated position such as editor or proofreader. Okay, so you need to think about all these things, and we say risk management already in the chat box. So once again, these are 5 elaborative characteristics of a project. Okay, and I have some keywords which is going to help you to remember better. Just 4 keywords. And later, if I ask you to identify if a task is a project, you just need to give your answer based on my 4 keywords. The first one is uniqueness. Is it a unique thing? Or is it just a general thing? Or is it a repeated thing? Second, think about the objective. Does it have a specific, clear, well-established objective? Think about the timeline. Does it require a specific timeline? When will it begin? When will you need to finish it? When will you need to deliver it to your client? And finally, what are the requirements? It can be human resources, it can be budget, can be time, facilities, people involvement, support, many different things. So if you want to explain characteristics of a project, you just need to give me 4 keywords and you write your answer based on the 4 keywords right here. And also, if you want to prove that a task is not a project, you also need to write your answers using the 4 keywords here. Okay? Another group work. For each scenario, please explain whether they qualify as projects based on the characteristics. Okay, so now we have the 4 keywords, right? Now it's time for you to explain your answer, elaborate your answers using the 4 keywords. Second question, can a project become an operational process over time? An operational process, it means, like example number 9, something that becomes a habit, a regular service. And the last question, are there any activities in translation or interpreting that could be both a project and an ongoing process? I just gave you the answer for number 9. So number 3, my answer is yes. And number 2, you need to find another example. And number 1, you need to explain for each scenario. Okay, so now we're going to get back to the 9 scenarios that we just discussed. You go back to your answers previously and now continue by choosing one scenario that you find most interesting to you. Okay, the one that you can relate to. For example, I see that group number 9 already picked scenario 6. Okay, and now you just need to rearrange your words a little bit so your explanation would include the 4 keywords that we have just talked about: the uniqueness, the defined objective, the requirements, resources, and the timeline. Okay, these are the 4 keywords that I need you to give your explanation. This is the requirement of the group. So from the 9 scenarios previously, please pick one and explain. And then answer question number 2. Okay? Is that clear, right? So I'm going to change the requirement a little bit. Instead of for each scenario, I will just ask you to do one. And you will only need to do 2. Okay. Can a project become an operational process over time? Give examples. Okay. You can keep working on the Google Doc that you just posted. Okay. And this time I'm going to randomly pick your answers. I think number 2 is going to require some of your time. So maybe I'll give you another 10 minutes. We will get back at 1:40, okay? I'm still here, so if you need clarification, then you can ask. Okay, I'm back. I have done looking through activity number 2 of group 10 already. The explanation is great. We have the 4 key characteristics. The answer for question number 2 is yes. Mình có cái chữ operational process á mọi người, có nghĩa là một cái quy trình nó đã trở thành một phần của cái quy trình vận hành thường xuyên. Được không? Thì là từ một dự án mà được trở thành một phần của một quy trình vận hành á, thì là nó có những cái yêu cầu cụ thể nhất định, mà lát nữa chút xíu nữa mình sẽ được biết là một cái project mà nó được trở thành một phần của một cái program thì nó phải đảm bảo được một vài các cái yếu tố. Thì ở đây cô thấy nhóm 10 có giải thích rõ các yếu tố mà nhóm 10 nhận được, đó là rather than a one-time effort, it should be a repetitive, ongoing activity and contribute a great deal to the overall performance of a program. Chỗ này mọi người ok ha? So, if it wants to be part of an operational process, it should be a repetitive, ongoing activity and contribute to the overall completion, success, performance of a program. Okay. Ví dụ là nhóm lại quay lại ví dụ về the iPhone. If it becomes part of a process with mass production and distribution, regular business operations. Until the iPhone 16 is terminated and replaced with another new version of iPhone. So I'm going to look at group number 8 answer now. We'll see if something is interesting. Okay, so group number 8 picked the campaign. Yes, a marketing campaign is a project. And then it becomes an ongoing digital strategies with regular updates over the year. Like the name is still kept, but they keep adding more functions, more activities, more promotional activities. Evolved into an ongoing digital strategy. Okay, for now, it is an ongoing digital strategy, but we're not sure if later they're going to terminate it, just like the same case as iPhone 16. But you shouldn't worry about that, right? So your job is just to give the answer, and the answer is definitely yes. It's basically in business. I'm very curious about our personal field, like translation and interpreting. Do we have that kind of project becoming operational process? Group number 7, instead of being a one-time endeavor, translation could eventually become a regular standardized procedure. I think group number 7 has not successfully completed your answer for question number 2. The answer is yes, but here we are talking about a specific project, which is a book series by Nguyễn Nhật Ánh, right? So, if this book series, if the project of translating the book series by Nguyễn Nhật Ánh into English want to become an operational process, it should be something like frequent updates, frequent editing, frequent publishing of new editions of translation, or it can be a part of an operational process as a marketing campaign to promote Vietnamese culture or Vietnamese children's literature. That should be the case. Your answer is a little bit too general. Group number 6. Yeah, very good. The example of group number 6 is it's like I just explained for the translation of the book series. If it should continuously be renewed, like month after month or year after year, like that. Okay. The answer is quite general. Project can indeed become an operational process. When the objectives as a project has already been delivered and it becomes part of the routine. Okay. Checking out group number 5's answer. What? 5 hasn't posted yet, right? Hay là 5 has a Google Doc link. So I'm going to check 5 as family of 4. Okay, so this is a project based on the 4 characteristics. Question number 2. When tested and refined, the onboarding process becomes a standard operational procedure. Okay, but instead of giving Zoom as an example, you can use number 9 or number 8 as an example, because it is in our industry, like translation or interpreting industry. For example, a team of translators is in charge of interpreting for an event, for a farm produce event, exhibition, right? But then it becomes an ongoing, an operational process because the event will take place in 61 cities or provinces of Vietnam. And that team of translators and interpreters will have to travel across the country to take part in that kind of exhibition. So from one small project in Ho Chi Minh City become an ongoing process in 61 provinces, like that. Okay, so later on, if you receive this kind of question, right, and they ask you to give an example, right, so try to think about our current situation. Maybe you can give an example as an English teacher or something that you have been doing right now. Okay. So, hết hồn, trời ơi, má ơi. Did I turn off the camera? I just accidentally turn on the camera. Oh my God. So did I say something about the localization? Yeah, of group number 6. I think group number 6 has an interesting choice for the example for activity. For the for answer 2. So I'm going to give group number 6 half a bonus for your interesting choice. But later on, the other groups, please remember that you need to be specific in your answer. Instead of just writing the localization of TV series, you need to give me the name. Like Trung tâm chấn thương cấp cứu these days. And maybe they will be renewed in the subtitles and duplication of voices next year or the year after next. Think like that. Be more specific in your answer. Okay. And I like an interesting way of thinking from group number 5 in the sense that you choose the household project instead of a big or complicated project. I like that too. So I'm going to give group number 5 half a bonus. Okay. I noted on your post on Padlet. So next week, please remind me. We still have plenty more of theory. If you're tired, you can just grab some coffee and listen to my voice like a podcast, the kind of podcast that no one wants to listen to. Moving on to another part of theory. This is what is not a project. Okay, so we know the definition, we know the characteristic that define a project. And now I want you to make a clear distinction between a routine and a project. It's pretty simple. And I have two examples right here for you. Okay, so the routine is ongoing, repetitive, and it is essential. It's a routine, it's an operational process, right? And you need to maintain consistency and efficiency in daily operations. It has no defined end. Okay? It is recurring. Same human resources, same tools, same equipment, same budget. Okay? It's already been standardized. You remember the UN interpreters for the general meetings? Yeah, it's more like a routine. So it doesn't have a specific name of the meeting or a specific requirement of the meeting or theme of the meeting. It's just a general meeting in scenario 8. So basically, it's a routine, a description of operational routine. Okay. Or an example here, something that you do every day, every meeting, or regular. So these are some of the cue or the hints that help you distinguish between a routine and a project. If you see things such as simple present tense, or regularly or every day, then it is signal. Okay, it's a one time. It's temporary, right? Something unknown, stepping into the unknown, oblivion, things like that. For example, here we have localizing 15 languages. So we have an established goal, right? For a global product launch. So specific goal and a specific task, which is localizing new mobile app, and maybe a specific actions. So just a project in which they are going to implement the new system. It's like a trial, like I just explained to you previously. It's like a trial. So it's going to be a first time doing it. And it's going to be a project because it's a one time. For the second time or the third one, or even the 10th, the 15th one, it becomes a routine. Okay? So some of the differences between a routine and a project. Then we will have to distinguish between a project and a program. Okay. So once again, the scope of the project is pretty narrow because we usually have specific, established, defined objective. Program is different in the sense that they try to achieve a set of goals. So basically, a program will include quite a lot of projects. Okay, and it is aiming at long-term benefits. Okay, not something that you achieve one time or in a short amount of time, but it should be strategic and it should be for long-term benefits. Okay, translating a specific book is a project of a big program, which is translating 50 books for a cultural promotion of a country. Okay. or creating an online course on academic writing is just a small project of the VLE development and implementation of the whole university program, including online courses, support systems, and faculty training. Okay, so the biggest difference we can see here is the scope. Project is pretty much a part of a program. Okay, so remember this, so that later on, if in the quiz they ask you to explain why this one is not a project, why this one is a program but not a project or something like that, you can base your answers on these characteristics right here. Okay, moving on. I promise I will send the slides at the end of the course. Yeah, so if you did not have enough time to take notes, then you will have the slides later. Or some of these are actually taken from the textbooks. Okay, so now we will continue to talk about the objectives. Right, so the primary project objectives. We know that every project has an objective, right? And the objectives is more like a navigator for us to meet the demands or to meet the specific requirements or purposes of stakeholders. Right, mình có một cái khái niệm là gọi là stakeholders. It means those who directly involved in your project. It can be so the evaluation of a completed project as a success or a failure depends on who is asked to make the assessment. So the stakeholders will be the ones who ask for the assessment of a completed project. For example, if we have the new highway project, then the level of success could be the authority, could be the contractor, could be the project management, or even the user of the highway, or even the environmentalist. Right? So I just gave you an example for you to think of the result of a project from different angles or perspectives. So each stakeholder will have a different perspective towards the completion and success level of a project. For example, when you finish building the new highway, the authority may think that it is one of the best highways of the country, right? The contractor may think that it is one of the most costly projects because they had spent a lot of money on building this highway. The project manager may think it is a failure because he already have to replace a lot of resources. And the road users may think that it is a success because they can use the new highway and now they can travel from one place to another at a much shorter time. But the environmentalists think that it is a damage to the overall environment of the province or of the city. Okay, so when you start and when you're done with a project, you will receive different types of assessment from different people, different stakeholders. Okay. So let's talk about creating an online course on academic writing. Okay. How about the project? So, I am asking about the views or the perspectives. So in the project, creating an online course on academic writing, how many viewpoints or how many perspectives do you think the project will receive? And what are they specifically? It's an individual answer. So if you have the answer, please paste in the chat box. So that I can see who is the fastest and has the most has the clearest answer. Okay. The name of the project is creating an online course on academic writing. What types of perspectives of assessment will this project receive? Okay, thank you. I'm seeing quite some of your answers in the chat box. May I get the view instructional officers. Okay. Okay, the bosses, the big bosses like the head, the dean, the school rector. Actually, we are using the word principal in our university. Okay, and students. The students. Hoài Anh hơi chung chung rồi. Hoài Anh có people là hơi hơi bị chung chung quá. lecturers. Educational perspective. A. Technological perspectives. Business perspective. Great. Thank you, Thi. You have different perspectives. However, you haven't added the exact stakeholder who is in charge of each perspective. Now, anh Thi, listen carefully. I'm going to give you a bonus if you can give me the answer. Okay, so you can type more. For educational perspective, who will give such perspective? Okay, for technological perspective, who will give or who will represent to give technological perspective? And business perspective. Okay, so who is going to give the business perspective, the business aspect? So, Thi, as long as you have your answer, you can post your answer in the chat box. Cảnh học online thấy hướng ngoại quá ha, Cảnh ha. Okay, very long answer. Formative assessment such as peer review, expert feedback, and pilot testing. Okay. Not sure if we're looking at the same page. Like, if it is peer review, then who is actually going to do the peer review? Or the expert feedback, like, you can look at Thế Nam's answer. I think his answer is also very elaborate. Nam's answer cũng rất là rõ ràng luôn. Even though he hasn't divided into different points of view like anh Thi, but I think Thế Nam also have some of the greatest stakeholders points of views here. So you can look at that. We have the big bosses, we have the users, we have the developers, right? The teacher, the center, technician. Okay, Minh Mẫn, nice. The teacher will evaluate the course effectiveness. The developer will examine the usability, accessibility. Okay. Student feedback on comprehension, engagement, and satisfaction. Good job. Good job, Mẫn. Very clear. Okay, Xuân Hương has an interesting point of view. It's from the funding. It's from the fundraisers, or the we say the sponsor of the project. So our school, for example, will receive sponsorship from some of the external organization, like Xuân Hương already mentioned right here. So we need fund from them. Learners, instructors, organization, technical team, the market industry. Okay. Look at the competitiveness, the trends, and the employability impact. Okay, so I have seen 3 or 4 of you mentioning the business side, the business perspective of this course. Okay. Content learning outcomes. English answer is more like criteria to assess, not specific stakeholders who are going to give assessment to the course. Okay, so I'm having anh Thi's answer. From educational perspective, we will have the developer, the editor, the content reviewer, still too general. I think Thi, you can look back at Nam's answer, and also Mẫn answer. So basically, we have the first one is those who are in charge of the educational perspective, right? So we will have who? Edu perspective. Obviously, the expert. right? So the educational perspective will be provided by the lecturers who are the one directly using the course. The lecturers, the course developers, the dean, the head of the division, maybe the school principal, the university principal, maybe the peer lecturers, maybe some of the experts that we invite from the other universities to give feedback, to give comment on our pilot test. Okay. From the technological perspective, we will have the developer, the technician, the ones who will help with checking on the functioning of our course, the one who will deal with some of the technical issues that the lecturer and the learners or students may encounter during using the course. And from the business perspective, it can be some of the big organizations who are funding us, or some of the companies who are planning to buy the course and to sell the course registration online. If we do it well, maybe they will buy the course. Okay, so here's my decision. And again, please, if I give you a bonus, then please remember and meet me next week so that we can add it onto my list. Okay. Nam is the first one who posted and also have the name of the stakeholders that basically are exactly the ones who directly involved, even though we need the developer, because the lecturer may not be the developer. We need technician, you haven't mentioned yet, and maybe we also need some sponsor or some potential buyer. So I'm going to give Nam half a bonus. Okay. Minh Mẫn, you will have half a bonus. Hương, you will have half a bonus. And last one, P, you will have one bonus. Okay. Please remember your own bonus. I want to you. Next one, moving on. I think we are going to end soon. We've been studying a lot already. Okay, so here's the slide that I introduced to you about the concept of stakeholders. Remember this, when you learn about project management, never forget stakeholders, because they are the one who will give the final assessment to your project. Okay, they have some interest, maybe directly or indirectly, like the potential buyer. They may not have an interest now, but if you do well, if your app perform well, nicely, smoothly, they will buy your app. So they are the potential. Okay, so the stakeholder means you need to consider the views of all those who have interest in the outcome of a project. Okay, so about creating an online course of academic writing, you can write like Thi does. You talk about the perspective first, and then you give the names of the stakeholder. Or you can write the way as Nam and Xuân Hương does, like they give exactly the name of the stakeholder. But think bigger. Not just lecturer and you and learners, but maybe some other bigger stakeholders, those who will give assessments. Okay, and the primary objectives of the project owner and the project contractor must be considered. These are the outcomes that project owner expects and project manager is employed to achieve. Như vậy, tóm lại, mình có những cái mục tiêu tuyệt đối, the primary, mục tiêu quan trọng nhất của một cái project là phải được
các bạn á, tức là những người project manager á, các bạn phải phát triển mục tiêu đó dựa trên cái mong muốn của khách hàng của các bạn, đó là project owner. Bạn không có own nha, bạn không có own cái project đó, mà bạn chỉ được mướn về, ý là được giao để được thi công cái project đó thôi. Như vậy thì bạn phải quan tâm đến cái kỳ vọng của cái người sở hữu project. Nhưng là trường mình là trường sư phạm đi, kêu mình làm cái online course on academic writing, thì cái mong muốn quan trọng nhất sẽ là của trường, đúng chưa? Rồi sau đó mới tới những stakeholders có interest, ví dụ như là gì? Giảng viên nè, hay là sinh viên. Rồi cuối cùng mới tới cái tiềm năng có thể bán sản phẩm ra bên ngoài. Ok ha. So that's why we say it's the primary. It is the foundational, it is the primary, the critical, the most important objectives. So that's why I write this sentence. Outcomes that project owner is okay. You project lớn lao, nhưng mà thực tế thì khi mà mình làm một cái project dịch thì cái expectation của khách hàng chỉ đơn giản đó là bạn có một cái sản phẩm dịch hoàn thiện, đúng không? Mình nhớ cái đó, accuracy and completeness. Thường cái đó sẽ là cái primary objectives của cái dự án dịch của mình. Nhưng mà ví dụ như khi cô dịch sách thì cái expectation của người ta không phải là chỉ đơn giản là accuracy and completeness, mà còn là cái potential to be a best seller. Right? Hay là bạn localize một cái bộ phim chẳng hạn, thì accuracy and completeness nó chỉ là một phần thôi, nhưng quan trọng là nó có attractiveness hay không. Tại vì nếu nó attractive thì nó mới được lên top trending. Nó top trending thì cái tên đó nó mới được popular. Và cái đội ngũ dịch của các bạn nó mới được nó mới có được tiếng thơm, rồi công ty của các bạn nó mới được được nhiều người biết đến, vân vân và vân vân. So when it comes to evaluating, choosing objectives, you need to remember that you pay your full attention to the expectation of the owner. Okay, and then other stakeholders. Như vậy thì mình có là rất stakeholder này tiếng Việt thì mình sẽ dịch đại là những bên liên quan, đúng không? Thì trong những bên liên quan đó thì bạn sẽ quan tâm tới cái người sở hữu, tức là cái người đọt tiền, cái người đứng ra để tổ chức thực hiện. Okay. So I just repeat myself. That sentence. So remember this, the highlight. The owner expects and the project manager achieve. Chúng mình thì chỉ là contractor thôi ha. We are just contractor. When you become the team leader, then you will be the project manager. Okay? That's the difference between contractor and manager. Okay? So when you write down, when you determine the objectives of a project, please pay attention to specification. Mình hay mua điện thoại thì mình cũng thấy cái chữ specs, đúng không? Là những cái thông số. The specification refer to the result of any project. It can be the performance of the product. It can be the quality of the product, reliability, attractiveness. Ví dụ như cái bộ sách đó bạn dịch có hay không? Cái bộ sách đó nó có chất lượng tốt về mặt ngôn ngữ, cũng như là chất lượng tốt về mặt in ấn hay không? Và những cái thuật ngữ hay là những cái hình tượng mà bạn dịch ở trong cái bộ sách đó nó có chính xác hay không? Yeah. So that's one. Khi mình viết objective thì mình quan tâm đến specification, tức là những thông số. Each project will have different specs. Okay? Just like your phone. Your phone will have different specs from your AirPod or your laptop. So you cannot use the spec specs of a phone for the specs of a laptop, right? So each project is the same. Each project is unique. That's why each project is having a set of specs and different budgets. Think about the money, okay? Don't say that money is not about money, it's about passion. I mean, everyone works for money. I try not to be the slave of it, but we work for the money. So when you plan, please think about the project, the budget. When you plan your project, think about the budget, the money that you have. When you do a translation project, think about the effort that you put in. And the members, the team members, and how much are you going to pay for each member? And for each phase, for example, drafting, editing 1, editing 2, proofreading, printing, publishing, marketing, etc. Okay, so think about the budget as well. And finally, think about the time. With those specs, with that budget, how much time do you need? Okay, so when you write a timeline of completion, so the end of your timeline is the time that you will have to complete your project with the product. Okay, so once again, look at the 3 main things that you need to think about when you write the project objectives: specs, budget, and time. Some will say budget, some will say cost. It's the same thing. Okay, so think about the budget, and you cannot abandon your project halfway just because you don't have enough money. That's your fault. Especially when you become a project manager. Okay, try not to let your project exceed the money that you already planned. Otherwise, you will have to abandon it, and it will lead to severe consequences. Like people will lose faith in you, or maybe people will stop working with you, or even worse, you will have to face legal matters. No one would like that, right? So money is also very critical. Okay, so this is your homework, right? I need you to think about the aspects of stakeholders and the objectives. I want you to work in groups, and you are going to draw a diagram. Okay, elaborating the relationship among the aspects of stakeholders and objectives. Như vậy thì bài tập về nhà của mình là mình sẽ làm việc theo nhóm. Tuần sau mình mới gặp nhau Lộc. Mình làm việc theo nhóm, và mỗi nhóm của mình chỉ cần làm một trang PowerPoint thôi. Mình vẽ một cái diagram, tức là một cái sơ đồ. Hoặc là mình muốn thì mình vẽ 2 sơ đồ cũng được. Và mình thể hiện cái mối quan hệ giữa các stakeholders và các mục tiêu của mình. Hồi nãy mình có các primary objectives đúng không? Rồi mình có các định hướng để viết objective. Đó là gì ạ? Thông số nè, specs nè, budget nè, rồi timeline. Rồi mình có các yếu tố stakeholders, ví dụ như là project owner nè, project contractor nè. Đúng không? Vậy bây giờ theo mình thì cái mối quan hệ giữa họ sẽ là như thế nào? Mối quan hệ nghĩa là sao? Ví dụ như là A ảnh hưởng đến B, B ảnh hưởng đến C, C ảnh hưởng đến D và D ảnh hưởng đến E. Thì đó là mối quan hệ thẳng hàng. Mình có thể có mối quan hệ song song. Ví dụ A và B, A cộng B bằng C. Hoặc là A và B ảnh hưởng ngược lại lẫn nhau. Đó là cái diagram. Stakeholders mình cũng có rồi. Objectives mình cũng có rồi. Vậy thì bây giờ mình chỉ việc vẽ một cái diagram để thể hiện cái relationship, cái mối quan hệ giữa các stakeholder đó. Không có làm liền ha, bài về nhà lận suy nghĩ cho kỹ. Nhưng mà để cho nó dễ hơn thì cô sẽ thay đổi một chút xíu. You can pick or you can imagine a translation or an interpreting project. Nhóm mình sẽ tự chọn lại trong số 9 cái scenario hồi nãy, hoặc là mình có thể tự nghĩ ra, mình tự tìm ở trên mạng một cái, hoặc là mình tự viết. Bây giờ mình đã có 3 cái characteristic của một cái project đúng không? Thì mình hoàn toàn có thể tự nghĩ ra một cái project cụ thể. Như vậy thì khi mà các nhóm đã có cái project cụ thể rồi thì nhóm sẽ bắt đầu hình dung được là mình sẽ có stakeholder là gì. Stakeholder là cái bài tập mà mình làm trong chat box, đúng không? Nhưng mà cái bài tập đó thì cô chỉ có một cái tình huống, đó là tạo một cái khóa học online thôi. Còn bây giờ trong ngành dịch thuật của mình thì mình chọn một cái project cụ thể, rồi mình viết ra xem ai sẽ là người liên quan đến cái project đó. Mà cụ thể ở đây cô sẽ dùng cái chữ là owner, nãy mình có rồi ha, và contractor. Có thể là bạn có thể nghĩ thêm, ví dụ như là audience hoặc là receiver hoặc là user cũng được. Ok. Rồi sau đó thì bạn có thể nghĩ tới những cái objectives, những cái mục tiêu của một cái project. Nhớ cái slide hồi nãy không? Về cái primary objectives là một cái mục tiêu. Khi bạn viết mục tiêu thì bạn nhớ đến mục tiêu về thông số là specs, mục tiêu về tiền bạc, mục tiêu về thời gian để hoàn thành. Như vậy thì ở đây tương tự như vậy, mình cũng sẽ có các objectives. Bạn muốn cụ thể cũng được, còn không bạn nói chung chung cũng được. Thì mình sẽ có specs nè, budget nè, rồi mình sẽ có time. Vậy bây giờ một chiếc điện thoại đi chẳng hạn, giống như cái iPhone, thì cái specs là mình biết rồi đúng không? Đó là những tính năng của cái điện thoại. Budget là cái gì? Là cái số tiền mà mình bỏ ra để quảng bá cho cái iPhone 16 có AI Power Assistant. Và cái thời gian mà mình quảng bá là trong bao lâu? Ví dụ trong 1 tháng. Vậy đó. Còn nếu như là một sản phẩm dịch, ví dụ như là series sách của Nguyễn Nhật Ánh, thì bạn sẽ có những cái thông số yêu cầu gì? Dụ về chất lượng nè, về khả năng bán hàng nè, hoặc là về kinh phí mà bạn muốn trả cho cái nhóm dịch của bạn là budget. Và thời gian mà bạn nhắm là bạn có thể dịch được nguyên một cái series kính vạn hoa đó là bao lâu. Đấy, thì đó sẽ được gọi là những cái objectives. Như vậy thì sau khi mà mình pick được xong, mình xác định được stakeholders và objective rồi, thì nhóm mình bắt đầu vẽ một cái sơ đồ. Làm sao đó để thể hiện, để khi mà cô nhìn vô cô biết là mình đang muốn nói là cái nào ảnh hưởng đến cái nào, hay là cái mối quan hệ của nó là như thế nào. Ví dụ như là ai ảnh hưởng đến ai, cái gì chi phối cái gì, hoặc là A cộng B bằng C, hay là như thế nào đấy, thì đó là cái mối quan hệ mà nhóm mình sẽ phải tự tìm được. Ví dụ giữa 3 cái thông số là specs, budget và time, thì theo mình nó có mối quan hệ gì với nhau? Nếu bạn chọn là mối quan hệ cộng thì bạn sẽ viết là specs cộng budget bằng time, đúng không? Thì nếu mà nghe nó vô lý thì tự nghĩ ra một cái mối quan hệ khác đi. Tương tự như vậy ở stakeholders thì bạn có thể nghĩ ra một cái mối quan hệ, ví dụ owner với contractor thì là mối quan hệ gì? Owner dẫn đến contractor, hay là cả owner lẫn contractor đều có tác động lên nhau? Cái đó là cái relationship mà nhóm mình sẽ phải tự thảo luận để tìm ra ha. Rồi sau đó thì nhóm mình sẽ làm một cái bao bon đơn giản, chỉ cần trắng đen thôi, không có cần vẽ, không có cần Canva gì hết trơn á. Cô chỉ cần các bạn là có thể là slide đầu tiên mình giới thiệu về cái project, và cái slide thứ hai thì mình vẽ 2 cái diagram ra thôi. Ok. Nếu được thì có thể giải thích thêm, tức là có thêm phần thuyết minh nữa. Nhưng mà tuần sau mình gặp thì mình thuyết minh tại chỗ, không cần phải làm một cái formal presentation gì hết. Okay, so that's the homework for the topic next week, which is balancing the objectives. Đó là cái phần mình làm ở nhà để chuẩn bị cho cái nội dung tuần sau mình học, đó là tìm cách cân bằng giữa các mục tiêu khác nhau trong cùng một dự án. Ok, any question? Tuần sau khi mình gặp nhau thì mình cũng làm việc nhóm, cho nên nếu được thì các nhóm mình cũng ngồi sát sát vô nhau. Ý là các thành viên trong nhóm thì mình cũng tìm cách mình ngồi gần nhau, ngồi kế nhau ha, để mình làm việc cho nó dễ. Rồi mỗi nhóm có một cái laptop thì nó cũng tiện hơn cho các bạn để làm việc. Cho nên đó, vậy thôi. That's it. Không có điểm danh gì hết. Okay, and the slides will be sent to you at the end of the course. Tuần sau là present cái PowerPoint luôn hả cô? Đúng rồi. Đúng rồi, không phải present nha, nói sơ sơ thôi, đại đại cũng vậy thôi à, chứ không có phải là present formally hay gì hết. Giống như homework vậy thôi. Tính nói gì nữa quên rồi. And not all of you. It means we have 10 groups, but maybe I will randomly choose 2 or 3 only. Okay. If you don't have any more questions, then we can call it a day. We can finish it here. And I'll see you next week. Goodbye, everyone.